Welcome back. You're watching Business Plus. I'm Shweta Kothari. We're bringing you stories from the world of business policy and economy. Let's begin with headlines first. ED issues showcase notice to BYJU'S, EdTech company charged with 9,000 crore rupees violation of foreign funding laws. BYJU'S denies allegations. Jindal Power will not proceed with its bid to take over stressed domestic carrier Go First. Decision made after evaluating airlines' financial statements. Supreme Court reprimands Patanjali Ayurveda to stop misleading consumers, warns of 1 crore penalty on every product sold, claiming a false cure. And in a step closer to satellite internet in India, Bharti-backed OneWeb gets space regulators' approval for commercial broadband services. All those stories right here on News9. With me is Karthik Malhotra this morning. Karthik, hi, good morning.
Morning, Shweta.
Well, let's begin with the story that broke last evening by the way of BYJU'S. It appears that there is a fresh mess that BYJU'S will have to deal with. It has been charged with violating foreign funding laws, the FEMA Act, to the tune of 9,000 crore rupees. That is the charge so far. What other details do we have?
So, well, Shweta, it's another day and another BYJU'S story and another mess emerging from what has been happening. Some of it disclosed, much of it undisclosed at BYJU'S. What we understand thus far is that between 2011 and 2023, and this is the period during which the enforcement director has conducted its investigations. Remember, 2011 is technically when BYJU'S was born, and right up till this year, 2023, 28,000 crore rupees have been received by way of FDI apparently into BYJU'S. Now, out of this 28,000 crore rupees, in excess of 9,700 crore rupees has been remitted outside the shores of India by BYJU'S. Now, out of this, apparently 9,362 crore rupees are in some sort of direct violation of the FEMA guidelines. What are the FEMA rules? This is the Foreign Exchange Management Act, and FEMA, according to this guidelines or according to this act, any sort of investments that you're making abroad, any sort of remittances that you're making abroad need to be reported. Now, it seems that BYJU'S has lapsed on many counts, including reporting of FEMA norms. Now, what are the specific issues right now that emerge? Number one, I think BYJU'S has not yet been able to report or not in the period of investigation been able to report that if this 28,000 rupees that was received, this crore rupees which was received, this is pretty much money coming in. Money coming in, that means you are buying a service or you're buying a product from abroad. Now, what exactly are you buying? You're obviously then, if you're paying money, if you're receiving money, that means you're giving a service. What is the service you're giving? That service has to be reported, right? So, in this case, if it is direct investment, if you're talking about FDI, then issue of share capital should have been reported. That has apparently not happened. Then in the second point, it is the remittances that you've made abroad. That is treated pretty much like importing something. You're buying something, that is why you're pushing money out. If you spent money abroad, what have you bought? What have you imported? That has again not been made clear. So is there a product that you've bought? Is there a service that you've bought? What is it that you have paid this 9,300 crore rupees for?
So there's not been any formal declaration?
There hasn't been a formal declaration according to Enforcement Directorate. Right. Now, the third point is that if it is not a sale or purchase of imports or exports, then perhaps you're looking at investments. So, if there is investment which has come in by way of FDI, why is that not reported? And if there is investment that you have made outside of the shores of India, why is there no disclosure of that as well? So, these are the 4 counts, 4 failures which have been attributed to BYJU'S in this FEMA violation. Now, BYJU'S has come out and said 2 counts. Number one, it has said that it has not yet, and this is as of yesterday evening, that it has not yet received any formal charge or any formal complaint, or any sort of notice from the Enforcement Directorate. So this is number one. Number two, even on the basis of media reports, which stated categorically, and ED also confirmed that a notice has been sent, a show cause notice has been sent to BYJU'S. BYJU'S is also saying that the top law firms in the country are backing its claim that due diligence has been made and no FEMA violations have really occurred at the company.
Okay, what happens here on, Karthik? That's the big question.
Another investigation, another round of hearings, another round or multiple more rounds of probing, and also again on the back of, and this probing has been happening since April. Incidentally, it's not the first time. And even the outgoing CFO, or in fact the already gone out CFO Ajay Goyal, who's now joined Vedanta, has also been questioned by the Enforcement Directorate. So now it seems that even Ajay Goyal, quitting in the month of October, just about 6 months or so into the company, leaving the company, maybe there is more than meets the eye, but let's not sort of, raise allegations which are unsubstantiated against another individual. But what we know for sure is that the books of BYJU'S for FY23 have yet not been audited, and if they have been audited, they haven't really been submitted to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So the numbers, the financials have not been reported. We saw FY22 financials being reported only in the first week of November, and this is a good 2.5 years after closure of the financial year. And now in the case of FY23, we are already 6 months, more than six, almost 7-8 months into the financial year, and there hasn't been any disclosure of financial statements for FY23.
All right.
So what are these investments? What have you invested abroad in? Why has that not been made public? Why has that not been reported to auditors, etc.? All these questions remain unanswered.
Absolutely. And the BYJU'S story has many facets to it. One is, of course, the pressure that it's dealing with by the virtue of its board members who resigned recently, its auditor that resigned, and that is one. The other is the financial pressure. It's not being able to make as much money as it anticipated at the peak of COVID. Now, specifically on what's happening within the company as far as its auditor resigning, and subsequent to which its board members also resigned, they had similar complaints. They said we were not being able to direct company to disclose more information out in the public, to share the financials in time. So these allegations have been persistent for a while now.
Of course, and I think BYJU'S has time and again either broken down into some melodramatics, either by way of speeches or long letters to employees, sometimes clearly denying any allegation only until that allegation is proven true later. Now, in the case of the board resigning, 3 board members, investors resigning, including Sequoia and Chang, Sequoia now called Peak 15 Ventures, as well as Chang Investments. So resignation of board members happened. You saw fresh board members take charge, including Mohandas Pai, a long-term bettor on the EdTech story, and BYJU'S in particular, as well as former SBI chairman Rajneesh Kumar, now on the board of BYJU'S. But I think these questions still remain unanswered on what has really transpired within the company by way of the loan that it has taken, $1.2 billion term loan B, to extend its offerings, diversify overseas, make acquisitions by companies, including Great Learning and Epic, which it is now trying to distress sell to pay off that loan. Thankfully, a couple of days ago, Ranjan Pai came to the rescue, where another $400 million or something worth of a loan that it had taken from David Kempner was finally converted into, was paid back on behalf of BYJU'S by Ranjan Pai. So there are these ups and downs which are happening. We saw FY22 growth go up 2.3 times, losses narrowing, but still obviously these are losses and it's still in the red. FY23 is when return to offline education happened in full swing.
Right.
And we don't know what the growth numbers for FY23 will look like. We don't know if the company has made any money whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And if it has made
It'll
money,
only be clear
where
when
has it invested, spent that money? We've seen, in fact, even IPL, we've seen the Cricket World Cup, no advertising from BYJU'S. So we know obviously there has been a financial pressure, there has been stress. And amid all this, now there is a story of all employees who've been laid off or those who have voluntarily quit. It seems that their full and final payments have also not been made. So there is a cash challenge at BYJU'S. It is cash strapped right now.
There's a governance challenge.
There is a governance challenge. There is obviously
and then there is violation of the
existing laws, not filing your audited reports in time. Perhaps now allegedly FEMA violations adding to the trouble. So I mean, big chaos at BYJU'S, and it's above.
Doesn't seem to be ending.
It doesn't. I doubt it's going to end anytime soon. Look at the number of cases now open. Look at the number of issues that the company is grappling with. I think the board has to now take some very serious steps and maybe look at a complete change of management top to bottom. And if this includes Baiju Ravindran having been made to step down, then so be it.
Absolutely. It doesn't seem like, doesn't look like it's over for BYJU'S and BYJU'S Ravindran just as yet, with fresh foreign funding rules violation. Now, BYJU'S has denied them so far, but ED says that the notices have been sent. Moving on to another story that doesn't look very good, and that is of Go First. The stressed domestic carriers did see some potential by the way of bidders who could have taken on the airline. Jindal Power made an expression of interest. But after looking at the financials and perhaps also looking at where Go First and his prospects are at the moment, they are not going forward.
Yeah, so this is again a story reported by Reuters, and we don't have fresh input on this story, but just to sort of summarize it, what really happened was that when Go First was grounded on May 2nd, voluntarily it filed for insolvency. It has been grounded ever since. It's been more than 6 months that the airline has not taken back to the skies. Now, amid all this, NCLT also put a moratorium which prevented lessors from taking their aircraft back, and those aircraft have been lying pretty much on the ground. You know, whatever faulty or serviceable aircrafts, both have not been able to, lessors have not been able to repossess those aircraft. Now, in the mid of all this, the Committee of Creditors had initially decided, and who comprises this Committee of Creditors? You've got Central Bank of India, you've got Bank of Baroda, and you've got Deutsche Bank. Right, three large lenders, large financial institutions had initially decided that maybe up to 450 or 500 crore rupees worth of interim funding may be provided for to keep the airline at least
up and running?
Not up and running, I mean it's grounded, but at least sustain whatever challenges it's facing on the financial front when it comes to litigation, payment of salaries, maintenance of aircraft, paying of hangar charges, etc. So the operational expenses, even for a grounded airline, need to be incurred, and the Committee of Creditors had initially decided to put in that extra 450, 500 crore rupees or so. Now, it seems, and this is around the time when even Jindal Power had expressed interest through an EOI, an expression of interest to make a bid for Go First. And after it has studied the papers, after all the financials were disclosed, it seems now, according to the Reuters report, that Jindal Power is not going to make an official bid to buy the grounded airline. Now, this again leaves Go First, the existing present Go First promoters and managers in a soup, the existing Committee of Creditors in a soup as well. So the COC is expected to meet today and discuss, if not decide, upon the next steps to take. Now, what could these next steps really be?
I mean, from what I'm reading, liquidation is the only obvious next step.
Absolutely. Or you find another bidder, you drop the valuation expected.
But they did not extend the deadline for
I think another
request
for extension can be made, or another decision can be taken to give it one more shot. But honestly, who wants to enter an already loss-making aviation industry, also at a time when it has become a duopoly? You have Indigo and you have the Air India, Tata Group, Vistara, Might on one side, and Indigo commanding 60% of the market share on another side. And you've also got new entrants like Akasa Air, which is also for the longest time been likely to make a 3-digit aircraft order. And you also have a Spice Jet, which in itself is struggling to survive. So who will want to enter this sector, this industry, is another question. But yeah, I think perhaps one more round of EOIs to be sought, and perhaps some sort of bidding process sometime in the future. But you don't know. Perhaps it looks like liquidation will be the only option.
So from what we know, Go First is not coming back anytime soon.
Not at all. Far from it.
Far from it. Go First there looks like it is gone. For now, there is no expression of interest. The only company that expressed interest, Jindal Power, is not in the fray anymore. But moving on to a story that is coming by the way of Patanjali Ayurveda, it appears the Supreme Court has now warned Patanjali Ayurveda to stop its misleading advertisements. If they do not stop, and if they continue to claim that they can cure illnesses, cure diseases, then they will be fined to the tune of 1 crore rupee on every product they sell. That is a big penalty.
No, but I think thankfully it has come. I still feel perhaps, it would have been much better for the cause of the consumers at large if this ruling had come much earlier. Especially I remember during the COVID pandemic and even before that. In fact, Baba Ramdev's claims and Patanjali's claims of their Ayurvedic products having the ability to magically cure COVID or prevent you from catching COVID, or even more serious ailments like cancer treatment, like kidney treatment, like so many claims that it has made are found to be unsubstantiated. And there was a petition filed by the IMA, the Indian Medical Association, in the Supreme Court, saying that this is a complete clear-cut violation of what is called the Drugs and Other Magic Remedies Act, as well as the Consumer Protection Laws. So in a clear sort of violation of these two acts, the petition was filed, and the Supreme Court has taken notice of this case, and the Supreme Court saying that yes, well, if there is any more false advertisement, any misleading claims that come from the Patanjali stable now of being able to magically cure any illness, then there are going to be serious repercussions, monetary repercussions for sure, and that could go up to 1 crore rupees per product falsely advertised, which I think is a great first step. Now, Patanjali's lawyers have sort of issued their own statement and said that the company would refrain from issuing any such advertisements.
Is that acceptance of guilt?
By the lawyers, I think
that is an acceptance of guilt, that we will refrain from doing it, which means we have done it so far.
Yeah, well, I think the lawyers' statement coming suggests that the lawyers wish for the company to uphold the Supreme Court's direction. Right. Now, the Supreme Court's direction is that no false advertisements, no misleading claims to be made. Lawyers accepting that is lawyers accepting that in future the company is not going to
make any more such claims
or make false claims.
Right.
Does it mean that it is admission of guilt for what has happened in the past? I mean, the Supreme Court the Supreme Court verdict is pretty much finding Patanjali's claims to be guilty. So with or without the lawyers accepting it, I think the message is loud and clear that they have falsely advertised, they have misled consumers, and hence they need to stop doing that.
Absolutely. And there's something very interesting that I think I read from that statement was also that this is not about Ayurveda versus allopathy. We don't want to get into the merits of Ayurveda. We don't want to get into the merits of allopathy. It's purely about what you claim to cure and what you can cure.
Exactly.
And in the past, Patanjali Ayurveda has called allopathy, and I quote, a pseudoscience.
Right.
So all those claims, trying to protect consumers at large without delving into what benefits you. You can continue to take what benefits you at large, but do not make claims that you cannot substantiate.
Absolutely. And I think, again, look at the rise of Baba Ramdev and look at how Patanjali was born. I think it all started with Baba Ramdev being this highly followed, highly acclaimed yoga guru. And now, by virtue of yoga and the sort of medical benefits, physical benefits of yoga, you command a large market. And that market now is captive and captivated literally, with what you offer that market by way of your discourses and by way of your yoga. Now, within that market, you have a great opportunity to sell products. And at one time, if you remember 2017, 2018, the likes of HUL and P&G were also actually back to the drawing board to try and figure out how do you tackle this new challenger which has come in the FMCG space called Patanjali.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, the Patanjali story hasn't really been able to keep pace with the kind of growth it saw initially. And it resorted then to start making false claims about Ayurvedic products. So FMCG is one side of the business. Yoga and guru lectures, discourses is another ball game altogether. But then your Ayurvedic
then you've
products,
got the Ayurveda dispensaries, the pharmacies.
And you have Ayurveda dispensaries, pharmacies, and the claims that it can cure you. Allopathy is all nonsense, and come to the Patanjali store and buy these Ayurvedic products, and they can heal you and they can make you absolutely fit. They can prevent you from catching diseases and they can cure any diseases that you have. All those seemingly are all misleading claims and false ads, and now Baba Ramdev and Patanjali Group will have to pay a fine if they go down that route again.
All right. Although lawyers have made it clear that they are not going to assert that Ayurvedic products from Patanjali stable cure uncurable diseases, they will refrain from doing so. But the Supreme Court making it very, very clear that Patanjali Ayurveda cannot continue to make claims that they cannot back up with facts and evidence. But shifting focus to a story that is coming by the way of India's prowess, and in fact possibility of satellite internet in India. We're one step closer with Bharti-backed OneWeb now getting an approval to start commercial satellite broadband services. I'm told Kumardeep is joining us. He's the country director of ITI Council. Kumardeep, good to have you on the show. Thank you for taking time out. What does it really mean for people at large? How soon can we expect internet services, satellite internet services in India?
So I think it was apparent from the press release or the statement which came out that while they have got OneWeb has got let's say the authorization from InSpace, the authorization agency with Government of India. Spectrum allocation is still due. So I think, and given the pace at which some of these digital connectivity related work happens within Government of India, I don't think that it will be a long wait before they can announce or before they can start commercial operations. OneWeb can start their commercial operations. But you know, this is just the beginning. If you ask me, this is just the beginning, because there are at least 3 more companies waiting in the wings, wanting to offer satellite-based broadband services to citizens and to the consumers in India. Which I think is the real story, which even though it may not be that big a game changer, because if you read I mean, to put things in perspective, India, and as of now, as of yesterday, India's broadband connections have shot up to 839 million. Now that's a huge number in a country with nearly 1.3 billion, 839 million broadband connections. So what I think satellite-based broadband service will do is it will provide access for broadband services to areas where you cannot use traditional methods of providing broadband services, for example, mobile towers, etc. That is mobile broadband, or having terrestrial, or you having the cable-based cable-based broadband services. So say think of a remote hilly area, think of a remote forest area, think of a location which is seeing some kind of you know, sort of disruption due to in civil due to civil unrest or something. So it will be extremely useful to provide connectivity in those areas, and that is the wonder that we are looking at.
Hi Kumardeep, morning. Nice to have you back with us after a very long time. Now, help us understand, what is the consumer actually going to be required to sort of purchase or subscribe to access a satellite internet-based connection? Is it going to be again linked to your SIM card, and your SIM card getting 4G, 5G speeds instead of a tower using satellite? Or if you're talking satellite broadband, you would still require some sort of a router in your home to pick up this signal. What is the distribution and the receiving mechanism for the end consumer for satellite internet?
You know, the best I can think of is the satellite television connection that we have in our or normal Indian consumers are used to having in their houses, wherein they have a small dish antenna and they can you know, have the television broadcast services in their houses, or channels beaming into their houses. But then it depends on the kind of models each of these companies are willing to partake or are willing to offer to consumers. Also, it is not clear, as far as I am concerned, whether the OneWeb solutions, or the first company which has been granted the licenses, would be offering it to normal consumers, or would it be restricted to businesses and commercial consumers in the country? Though I am hoping that with more players coming into the market, it will slowly spread out and the business case will come about, and more consumers, especially those, as I mentioned, in far-flung remote areas where traditional means of providing broadband cannot be provided, will start using it. So my guess is that there would be some sort of a receiver at the consumer's end for receiving the broadband connection, after which it can work on like a normal Wi-Fi is what my understanding is.
Okay, so Kumardeep, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. How soon will the spectrum allocation happen? When are we looking at satellite internet finally starting off for people who are watching right now and are excited perhaps with the possibility of satellite internet very soon?
In its statement,
When
Bharti
are we
Airtel has
looking
said
at it?
end of the year. Now, is
that
it end
even
of calendar
possible?
year, end of financial year? And in either scenario, does that look like a possibility?
Absolutely. I mean, see, this doesn't Eutelsat, the company which is providing the OneWeb services or satellite broadband services. They already have some low Earth orbit satellites up in the space. So in a way, the infrastructure is already in place. And as I am reiterating or repeating that, this doesn't require a laying of cables. This does not require putting up towers everywhere across for providing connectivity. So the moment the license is granted, it's just a matter of formality, if you ask me. Technically, they can start services as they have mentioned in their press release by the end of the year.
Okay,
All
one
right.
final
It's
question,
absolutely
Kumarji.
possible.
One final question. Do you, as a telecom sector watcher, industry veteran also in some way, if I can call you that, do you see satellite internet to be a game changer, or is it just another great value addition product service to have in your stable?
See, which is why I mentioned, Karthik, that with 839 million broadband users already in the country, there is that much scope for the market to grow. But yes, I mean, this provides another option for consumers to choose from, specifically in areas. I mean, let's take ourselves out of Delhi, Mumbai, or big cities and think of, let's say, smaller towns, cities, and even in remote locations. It will give people an opportunity, an option of getting fast, reliable internet connectivity. In a way, that would be a game changer, which is what goes with the current government's theme also, Digital India, and a faster connectivity for every last mile, or till the last mile, let's say.
All right.
I mean,
And
even
before,
the last mile in this case would be vertical instead of horizontal.
okay, that's interesting. And before I let you go, for an average person out there, I mean, you said we don't know whether this is going to be made available to establishments, to institutions, to businesses, or to a common man. But on the basis of satellite internet that is available in other countries to a common person, how much are we looking to pay? How much should an
That's a
average
question
person be shelling out?
you have to ask the companies which are going to offer these services. I am going to be as much a consumer as
Okay.
any of us are going to be.
All right. I think the consumers will now be eyeing the money that they will have to shell in order to pay for satellite broadband internet. Kumardeep, thank you very much for taking
Thank
time
you.
out.
Have a great day.
You too. Well, with that, it's a wrap on the show. Thank you very much for watching.